Hey everybody, good late afternoon, and since we now have all the combine data, thought I'd go ahead and put a cap on it by taking a look at the bench press numbers. The offensive linemen did their bench presses earlier today, so let's just go ahead and take a look at everybody. We're going to just quickly go through the whole thing in one video here because, quite frankly, a lot of the players don't do the bench press. Like, no quarterbacks did the bench press, which makes sense. You don't really need a quarterback to show you how many reps he can do. That's not really something that translates at all to playing the QB position. You don't even really need it to determine how strong their arm is because you can just watch them throw the football and you get a better picture of it anyway. But all the other positions had at least a couple of players do the bench press. So let's just take a look at what we have here. I think with every non-quarterback position, the strength can tell you something important. For some positions, it's very important, maybe even more important than foot speed or quickness or agility. All right. So, again, just looking at the results page on NFL.com, Donovan Edwards led the way for the running backs. I already said I thought he had a pretty good combine. This just adds to it. Tested really well overall. I don't know if the Seahawks are going to be in the market for a running back, but there's, I guess, a universe where they are. And if they are, Donovan Edwards is a guy that has done himself some serious favors for me. And nothing else really stood out in this running back class. As you can see, very few guys actually did the bench press. I feel like Trevor Etienne did not have a very good week overall, and this bench press doesn't help, but he has much bigger problems than that in my estimation. So that's running back stuff. Wide receivers. Okay, so Jalen Noel, I'm not really thinking about that much. He has very short arms, so 23 bench press reps is fine, but it's actually not as good as it sounds, right? Because when you have short arms, it's easier to do bench press reps. And I think that Jalen Noel's probably a slot only corner in the NFL regardless, so I can only be so interested in that. People are definitely going to be interested in Jack Beck, though, because there's been a good amount of hype around Beck already. And for him to come in second in the bench press is just going to help. And he didn't do all the testing this week, I know, but he does look like a guy who should be able to play on the outside. His jumps were decent for a bigger receiver, and 19 bench press reps just kind of adds to the goodness of his overall profile as a player. So I think Jack Beck is somebody that did well for him here. Got a couple other names here, but as you can see, so few players do this. If you're a receiver, you don't really need to be a good bench press guy. But as you can see, there's like not even eight guys. I think yeah, eight guys did it. Not really a lot you're going to learn here, unfortunately. So what can you do? Tight end, CJ Dippre, the Alabama guy, who I don't even think was their primary tight end last year. Maybe he was, but not a prolific name. 32 reps, which was rivaling. Sorry, that word gets stuck in my mouth. Anything we saw from the offensive lineman this week. So that's really good. CJ Dippre, or Dippre, I'll learn how to pronounce it if we draft him. But this is a bigger tight end who tested fairly well compared to other tight ends. He actually had the best athletic score of any tight end in this class. He moved fairly well for a bigger guy. Decent vert, so he's got some explosion, and he's cranking out 32 bench press reps. He's got my attention now. I know he wasn't a super productive tight end in college, but it seems to me that he's got some good stuff to offer an NFL team. Maybe it's just a blocker, but he showed a well-rounded skill set when he was at the combine this week, so that definitely stood out to me. And on the other side of that, you got Jackson Hawes with half. And Jackson Hawes is a pure blocking tight end. Jackson Hawes' claim to fame is that he can block. So 16 reps compared to 32 for Dippre. That's interesting. And maybe blocking's more about technique than anything else, but you would have expected more from a guy who is a blocker. His arms aren't like monstrous. They're not pythons. They're decently long, so I don't get it. Okay, offensive lineman, this is where the bench press becomes maybe even more important. This is probably where it's the most important. Luke Kandra stole the show with 33. So he was a guy that was already kind of sneaking onto people's radar. And obviously, he's still not going to be some super hot commodity, but as an interior offensive lineman, there's some intrigue here. He's got a decent amount of weight to him. He's got NFL caliber size. He only did the bench press, so we don't know about his all around athletic abilities, but that's going to be interesting. But Membou, oh my goodness. Membou, wow. Not only did he kill the combine in every other way, he cranked out 31 reps with 33.5-inch arms. That is not easy to do. This was maybe the most impressive combine performance of any player. Membou killed it. So, once again, if you were thinking about the Seahawks drafting him at 18, you are wishing on a star that he is there at 18, because right now, I don't know if I like his odds. I don't know if I like his odds getting out of the top 15. He killed it in every way that something can be killed. I even thought he looked pretty good in the drills. And this was a guy who definitely could have been top heavy, but I didn't really notice it. Other than that, Clay Webb did well. I mean, that's good to see. Jackson Slater did well. And both those guys, it's good to see that because they're small school guys, right? Like, just as an example, you scroll down here and you see Charles Grant back of the line with 19 reps. Not a very good performance. William and Mary tackle, that concerns you a little bit, right? Because you're concerned that he plays at a small school where he has lesser competition. Then he cranks out 19 reps, and you're like, wow, he's not that strong. He can't crank out those reps. Maybe he only looks good because he plays at William and Mary. It's hard to know. So that's something that is good to see from some of these small school guys, that they did crank out a lot of reps. And Tyler Booker continued a pretty poor weekend. 21 reps. So he can't move. He has no explosiveness, and he's only cranking out 21 reps. I know he has the long arms. I will say that. But he did not need one more strike against his athletic profile. And as you can see, he is one of the least athletic guards that competed at the combine this week. So, last week, I guess would be more accurate to say, but it's just not helping. Okay, moving along here. Now we're on the defense, looking at the defensive ends, which frustratingly will group together edge rushers and defensive ends together, which sometimes paints a not so accurate picture. But far and away, the best lifter was Ethan Downs. He had 32 reps. Nobody else had more than 28. Now, Ethan Downs is certainly a little bit on the bigger side as far as edge guys go, almost 270 pounds. And I don't think he looked great in the drills. He was a guy that I noticed kind of looked unstable, moving in space a little bit. He tested okay-ish overall, I guess. The bench press reps definitely saved him. But overall, he was just kind of okay. And Ethan Downs, to me, not really a fit for what we're trying to do here. Definitely somebody who's meant to play with his hand in the ground, but it helps, right? Mike Green did really well. He's dealing with some potential legal issues, by the way, so I don't know what's going on with his draft stock right now, but this is certainly a good sign for him. He's a legitimate edge rusher, and bench press is the only thing he did, right? So him having a good bench press score is going to stem the bleeding a little bit, so that's a positive sign for him. Tyler Batty's a guy that I'm interested in the right context. I don't think he moves that well. I don't think he's a particularly good fit for like a 3-4 stand-up edge, but I think that in the right circumstance, he could be pretty good. And on the more disappointing side, I'd say Kyle Kennard. Given how slow he was, I needed more than 23 reps, I feel like, to get excited about him. So, I don't know what to think of Kennard anymore. When I saw his initial testing numbers, like the 40 time just not being what I was hoping, combined with him being kind of small, I was hoping he'd be like a Clowney type, maybe like a smaller Clowney. But 23 bench press reps, I know he's got long arms, right? 34-inch arms are no joke, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to really get excited about here. I don't know what I'm really supposed to be into here. Okay, defensive tackle, interior lineman, Jordan Phillips leads the way. He's a guy who really struggled in space in his drills. So I think we have a very firm idea of what Jordan Phillips is. You get him in the middle, and you just tell him to not give ground. He's very strong, very capable of being a nose tackle. He does kind of have shorter arms, which I don't love, but You ask him to play on the move, you ask him to play in space, you ask him to be athletic, you get whatever this is. This is pretty rough, man. Can't move well. And you saw it when he got out in space. He just looks top heavy, like he's about to fall down at any moment. But he did a pretty good job cranking out those bench press reps. Darius Alexander, though, man, Darius Alexander, this was a guy who moved decently well, and he not only did he run a sub 540, which is that means something to me from a guy who's going to play on the interior. 28 reps with 34-inch arms. I mean, I'm paying attention to that. I'm paying attention to Darius Alexander for that, man. So I like what I see there for sure. Darius Alexander's a guy who's moved up the board significantly. Kenneth Grant, I don't want to judge too harshly here. I still do like him a lot, but this was the only thing he did in terms of a quantifiable drill. And don't get me wrong, his weight and his arm length still make him very, very covetable. But 22 bench reps, I don't know, I'm disappointed. I would have hoped for a little bit better from Grant. He does have fairly long arms, but they're shorter than Alexander's. And Alexander cranked out way more than that. So I don't know. And Mason Graham at 24, I'm a little surprised by that too. Not that I really care because there's no way he's falling to us, but yeah. Shout out to Ty Robinson, by the way. Not personally all that interested, but he's a really athletic and kind of undersized tackle, I believe. Yeah, he's sub 290, and he cranked out 28. That's pretty good for a guy who's definitely going to be more in the Braden Fisk mold, I think. Excuse me. So pretty good results from this defensive tackle group, I would say, from a couple of guys, but overall, not what you're looking for. Linebacker, we had two guys at the top, Buchanan, the California guy, and then Nick Martin, the Oklahoma State guy. I know a little bit about him. So those are guys that have definitely made themselves a little bit, at least gotten themselves a little bit of attention. Buchanan's actually a little bit on the bigger side for a modern linebacker too, so that's going to be appealing. He moved okay at the drills, and he had some decent explosion as well. So this is a guy who's going to be marching up draft boards a little bit. Nick Martin, the thing with Nick Martin, I think, is just that he's a little maybe too small. Not even 6 feet tall, 221 pounds. That's a little bit harder to justify. He can move though, so that lifting that much is impressive. Demetrius Knight is a guy that a lot of Seahawks fans are starting to rally around. But as you can see, very, very few linebackers actually did this, so we've got very little information to go on. Eugene Asante getting 21 is actually pretty good because he was also pretty quick at the 40 stuff and the movement stuff. Cornerback, the main thing that stood out to me here, because only 7 guys did it, Noel Williams. I like Noel Williams. I think he's really good in run support, really good tackler. So for him to have 19 bench press reps, that means something to me. It proves that his abilities to tackle and come up and run support at the college level will translate well. And other than that, there's really not much else to say, right? Like Jabbar Muhammad, he continued to have a really rough weekend, not good. But that's about it for cornerbacks. And safety. I mean, is there nothing that Nick Manwari cannot do? Is there anything he cannot do? I think the answer is no. Leads the way for bench press reps. He is running circles around the other safeties in this class right now. I don't know if he's going to be the best one. Starks probably had a more productive career. I will admit that. Manwari right now looks like he's going to be the better safety in the NFL. That's all I can say about it. I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's a real chance that it happens. If it does happen, then, I mean, this combine was like the initial volley. Okay, so that's really it for the bench press stuff. Again, a lot of players don't even do this, which frustrates me. I guess you get a good amount of data from the offensive linemen. At least a lot of them do it. A lot of them take it seriously. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. I want to know what quarterback has the most reps. I want to know what quarterback can lift the best. Just because it'd be fun. By the way, if you sort by all, you can see that Kandra was number 1, and Dippre, this is why I'm so intrigued now, was second as a tight end. Only one offensive lineman in the whole class was better than Dippre, or Dippre, whatever. All right, let me know what you guys think down below. I will see you guys probably at this point tomorrow. We're gonna kind of take all this information and build another mock draft for tomorrow's one of tomorrow's videos, and then pretty soon we'll be swinging back into free agency stuff because that is imminent. See you guys soon. Go Hawks.